Morning, everybody. I hope you're having a great Friday morning. It is August 21st, 2020, if you can believe that or not. And the last time we did a video was May 15th. And we signed off in a rather unique way where we had every one of our essential employees listed by names by the managers and supervisors and PCMs. And I thought that that was just a great video. And as we were emerging from COVID, I thought that that was a good time to sort of sign off on the weekly visits. And so that's why there was a bit of a pause in the videos. And I wanted to come back to you because I've got some interesting things I want to share with you today. This has been, an unbelievable and unique year. We had a really strong start in the beginning of the year, met in the early March by the scariness of COVID and what did that actually mean. And our company was just fantastic at marshaling all of our resources and preparing for first safety, but then being the essential organization that we were, and how did we keep providing service to the consumers. March and April were pretty interesting and, frankly scary in terms of what the order counts look like, as I mentioned before. But there was a slow and steady rebound that started at the end of April. May got better, June got even better, and all of our organizations found our footing, and we've been having some successes. And the successes are, exceptional, and they're due to all the hard work of each and every one of you, and makes everyone on the executive committee and myself very proud. So interestingly enough, and what I came to want to talk to you about was that your organization, when I was doing the videos, I was highlighting our creativity, but also during this COVID era, your organization that you're a part of also has been growing. It's been growing in its regions, and it's been growing in its business, but we've also been opening up new operations, and that's astounding and important for you to know that. And it became something that I wanted to focus on, because the culture of our company that's been established by John Marconi in 1974 is really what sets us apart as an organization and why we've had this growth. And I've been talking a lot about that on various Zoom calls. This week has been Zoom sales meeting for me. I have been on with the lender divisions, and I've been on with all of our California divisions and managers, and in conversations associated with the salespeople. I see a tremendous commitment to growth and prospecting, and it's because of that strength and that culture that led me to want to try to get out to as many places as I could and reestablish our touching of all of you, and making sure that you understood how strong we were and how successful we can be because of all of our efforts. Now, with travel restrictions because of COVID, the top executives of John Marconi, Rich Macaluso, and I, we still cannot fly without quarantine. And so that would create a difficulty from a management perspective. And so I started a couple of weeks ago driving to as many of our operations as I could get to. And I had an opportunity to go to Utah for a good board meeting. And then this past week, I wanted to set out to some of our other operations. And so I wanted to share some things with you. And if you can bear with me for a minute, I'm going to stop my video and then I'm going to share something else with you. So originally, I decided on an ambitious trek, and along with me came my wife, and she actually set up most of the trip that we were getting ready to take. And along with me came, and my wife was, of course, my trusty golden retriever. And we decided that we were going to set out on our trip because I didn't want to be anywhere without my wife and my dog. And we decided that we were going to set out on our trip, and it took us a better part of a weekend to get from California, and our quest was to get to Colorado. So you can see the dog's ready to go. You can then also see that here's my wife and the dog when we did a detour in the mountains to do a little bit of a hike. And then here's her relaxing in the creek. And then after the weekend was over, we arrived in Colorado, and here you'll see the picture of the dog in Cherry Creek outside in a patio where we're readying for the next week full of business opportunities that presented themselves. Now, we had a busy couple of days in Cherry Creek and the Denver area, and we're there in order to see how some of the new employees, but to see the growth that's been happening in that organization. And so with that growth, we first met up with Jim Hall, the president, and Jim Hall and I met up with Terry Woods, and we went over certain things, and here's Terry for you. And we went over certain things about what was going on with our growth. And then we were actually in the Cherry Creek office, which is where we have an affiliated business relationship with Remax Cherry Creek. And that office is run by Mark Foley, and he's the branch manager there. And Lil Bustamante and Sonia Romero are also people that help him succeed in that particular marketplace. From there, we hooked up with Joseph Burks, and we went over to our Lakewood office, which is also an ABA. And there are several new employees in that Lakewood office, and I enjoyed meeting them and seeing them on the hard work that they did. And so at that Lakewood office, you'll see there's Joseph Burks. He's the EVP of the organization. And Casey Jackson is the manager there with Michelle Manning. And also there's EO Stacy Wolf and Jordan Peterson. So there's Michelle, there's Stacy, and there's Jordan. Next, from there, we decided to go over to our newest, and this is where the growth comes in, operation, which is Equity Title IV, which is another affiliated business relationship, and that's with Metro Brokers. And the escrow officer in that new ABA is Deb Spates. And so I got to meet her and spend some time with her, and I definitely enjoyed that. So now from there, we took off on a Wednesday, and we drove through Colorado, and ultimately, we took off on a Tuesday, drove through Colorado, and ultimately got to Prescott, Arizona on Wednesday. And believe it or not, we're getting ready to open up a new affiliated business in Prescott, Arizona called First Equity. And through the hard work of Lane Gidney and Tom Diller, they got brand new employees. And we also worked to make sure that we got the location set up, and that was construction from scratch. So here is the building in historic Prescott. And if you see right smack in the middle, you can see the First Equity Title Agency, and you can see our partners are Better Homes and Gardens, Bloomtree Realty, and Nick Maloof and Raymond Zogob are our partners there. So our first employee met me and Lane and Tom there in the morning, and that's Heidi Howard. She's a salesperson there, kind of laying the land, and I knew that we were waiting on certificate of occupancy so that we could actually start taking orders, and we were going to have other employees that were supposed to start what in essence turned out to be this week. Well, here's what we saw in the branch when we first came into it, okay? So there's the branch from a highlight. Now here is Heidi, and you can see that it's a pretty raw space. And yes, there is a vault because it's a bank vault. And from that, we then went out that night and had a really good, strong meeting with her and dinner with our partners. And so all the excitement was there, but I'm thinking to myself as I was leaving there and moving on, I'm thinking to myself, I'm wondering whether or not we're actually going to have this thing ready and operational by the time that our employees are ready to come in this week, right? So here's another picture of Heidi and Tom, and this is with the manager from BH&G's, that's Jeff Bashaw. Now, all of a sudden in 3 days, due to a lot of hard work by Ty Kreiner, here's what the office now looks like. You can see that we've got some good things going. You can see the finishings. You can also see the hallway, and everything is going quite well. And believe it or not, in this first week of operations, escrow officers came on board this week, and with all the hard work of everybody that I mentioned previously, we've actually started opening up. I think there's 5 new orders in 3 days of operations. So I'm really excited about that. And I look for great things coming in the future from First Equity. So then that takes us, we hustle out of there Thursday morning to come to our next stop. And here is where our next stop is going to be after you see this last picture. Yes, our next stop is Vegas. And you can see that Scarlett the dog was pretty happy to be there. Now in Vegas, I did two things. I came there to do some work with their sales team, and we had a sales meeting that was put on, and all of the salespeople were in a room, socially distanced, of course. And I should have taken a picture of that when I was there, because that was what I wanted to do. But I must admit that I forgot to do that. So I had to get the sales team's pictures sent to me in advance, or excuse me, after the meeting. So I'm going to read off the people that were part of the sales team that's growing exponentially in that location. And then you can see the pictures of the people that took place. So that's Scott Lamborn and Jamie Zeppenfeld, Brittany Nickel, Marie Herod, Kelly Meath, Rhonda Hubke, Stephen Cha, and Yesenia Alfaro. So here's this dynamic sales team that was there. And I also had a chance to meet up with the management team running that. And the management team has Shannon Malinsky. Here's Shannon, and she runs accounting. Then we have John Morgan doing a great job with the title department. And the escrow manager extraordinaire is Mickey Saldago. Of course, sales management is Rick Tsunami doing a great job. And the company president is Jim Hilbin. All right, so we got all that accomplished in that particular time frame last week. Great growth in all of those locations. And so Friday morning was when we were getting ready to be done after all of this driving. And this trip, by the way, was 2,462 driven miles. So how did the trip end Friday morning? Yes, it ended with Scarlett basically pooped and ready, of course, to come home. And the reason why I basically wanted to outline all of this with you was to highlight everything that we had done and to make sure that you got a chance to see all of the growth going on with your company, and seeing that because of all your hard work and because of all of us as essential employees, your organization is strong, and that strength allows for us to continue to expand, and that expansion allows for us to continue to employ more people and create more jobs, which definitely is what we need at this particular point in time. So I wanted to share those things with you. I'm excited by that. Again, have a happy Friday, and thank you so much for all of your hard work.